Tears sprung to Chidinma's eyes. She wouldn't leave. This was her home, or at least it was supposed to be. But she was alone, with nowhere to go, and a silent husband who seemed content with her suffering. The humid Asaba air clung to Chidinma like a second skin as she stepped into her new home. Her heart fluttered with a mix of excitement and nervousness. Dubem, her husband, squeezed her hand reassuringly. They had been married just that morning, the vibrant colors of the ceremony still swelling in her mind. The house echoed with the chatter of departing guests. Dubem's mother, a stern woman named Obioma, approached them. Her lips paused. "Welcome, Nne, daughter-in-law," she said. Her voice clipped. "There is much to learn before you can truly call this home." Dubem's two younger sisters, Adako, a girl with sharp eyes and a sharper tongue, and the shy Obiageli, barely a teenager, hovered behind Obioma, their faces unreadable. Chidinma, a bubbly girl raised in a loving household, smiled brightly. "I am ready, Mama," she chirped. The days that followed were a whirlwind. Obioma treated every chore as a test, her instruction laced with snide remarks. Washing dishes became an intricate dance where a misplaced cup could earn a withering glare. Cooking jollof rice, usually a joyous task, felt like navigating a minefield. Dubem, to Chidinma's growing concern, seemed oblivious. He spent his evenings glued to his phone, leaving her alone to navigate the house's icy atmosphere. Adako, meanwhile, took delight in pointing out Chidinma's every perceived flaw. Obiageli, ever the silent observer, watched with wide, worried eyes. One evening, disaster struck. A pot of boiling egusi soup, carefully prepared by Chidinma, spilled on Obioma's favorite tablecloth. The room erupted. Obioma's voice rose to a screech, accusing Chidinma of clumsiness and disrespect. Chidinma's tears prickling her eyes stammered apologies. One day, as Chidinma sat by the window, feeling utterly alone, Obiageli hesitantly approached. Unlike her sisters, Obiageli didn't seem to take pleasure in Chidinma's misery. They fell into a conversation, hesitant at first, then flowing freely. Obiageli confessed her fear of Obioma's harshness and her admiration for Chidinma's resilience. A tentative bond formed between them. Obiageli became Chidinma's confidant, offering silent support and a listening ear. In Obioma's shy smile, Chidinma found a flicker of hope. Maybe, just maybe, this wouldn't be so bad after all. One evening, Dubem received a call. His face grew serious as he listened. When he hung up, a flicker of worry crossed his eyes. He took Chidinma's hand, his touch unfamiliarly cold. "My father, he's not well," he said, his voice low. "I need to go to the village for a few days." Chidinma's heart sank. With Dubem gone, she would be at the mercy of Obioma and Adako alone. Still, she forced a smile. "Don't worry, I'll take care of things here." Dubem seemed unconvinced, but with a hurried goodbye, he left. Dubem's absence only emboldened Obioma and Adako. The chores became more demanding, the snide remarks more frequent. Chidinma, already exhausted, started making more mistakes. Obioma's punishment became harsher, scrubbing floors on her knees, waking up before dawn to grind pepper. Obiageli, her eyes filled with helpless worry, could only offer silent comfort. One morning, Chidinma found the well padlock missing. Without water, they couldn't cook, clean, or even drink. Panic seized her. She rushed to Obioma, only to be met with a cold stare. "You are clumsy, Chidinma," Obioma said, her voice dripping with disdain. "You probably lost the key." Chidinma pleaded, tears streaming down her eyes. Adako, watching from the doorway, snickered. In that moment, a wave of despair washed over Chidinma. She felt utterly alone, trapped in a house filled with coldness and hostility. The next day, Chidinma woke up with a newfound resolve. She wouldn't let them break her spirit. She cleaned the house with a vengeance. The rhythmic sweep of the broom, a silent rebellion. Obioma, noticing Chidinma's defiance, decided to escalate further. Later that day, a commotion erupted in the living room. Obioma held aloft a gold necklace, her face contorted in fury. "This is my Chidinma. Where did you steal it from?" Chidinma froze. The necklace, a family heirloom, was something Obioma rarely wore. I don't know what you are talking about, Mama," she stammered. Adako, sensing an opportunity, shimmed in. "She probably took it to pawn for some quick cash. That's what girls like her do." Chidinma felt a surge of anger. "That's a lie. I wouldn't steal anything." But her voice lacked conviction. Obioma's glare held the weight of accusation. Obiageli, wide-eyed with fear, clung to doorway. Suddenly, a memory sparked in Chidinma's mind. Earlier that week, she had seen a neighbor, young daughter, playing with a necklace that looked suspiciously like Obioma's. It must have gone missing then, but how could she prove it? With a deep breath, Chidinma formulated a plan. She approached Obioma, her voice surprisingly steady. "Mama, I saw Nneka, the neighbor's daughter, playing with a necklace that looked exactly like yours. Maybe you should ask her." Obioma scoffed. "Nneka, don't be ridiculous. That child wouldn't steal a fly." But the seed of doubt was planted. Later that day, Obioma stormed out, presumably to confront the neighbor. Chidinma and Obiageli exchanged a worried glance. It was a risky move, but it was their only chance. The following day, Obioma returned, a sheepish look on her face. Nneka had indeed been playing with the necklace, a gift from her aunt that looked similar to Obioma's. Relief washed over Chidinma. She had outsmarted them, at least for now. But the victory was short-lived. As Obioma glared at Chidinma, a new plan seemed to form in her mind. She gathered Adako and Obiageli close, whispering something that sent shivers down Chidinma's spine. Later that evening, Obioma delivered her verdict. "Chidinma," she began, her voice cold, "you've proven yourself unfit to be a wife and a daughter-in-law. You can't cook, you can't clean, and you bring nothing but trouble." Chidinma's blood ran cold. "What are you saying?" she whispered. Obioma continued, ignoring her question. "We've decided it's best for you to leave." Chidinma stared at them, her heart hammering against her ribs. This was worse than the taunts, worse than the chores they were throwing her out. Obioma tossed a small bag at Chidinma's feet. "Pack your things. Dubem won't be back for another 2 days. By then we want you gone." Tears sprung to Chidinma's eyes. She wouldn't leave. This was her home, or at least it was supposed to be. But she was alone, with nowhere to go, and a silent husband who seemed content with her suffering. Obioma and Adako watched the smug satisfaction. Obiageli, on the other hand, looked ready to burst into tears. Chidinma took a deep breath. She wouldn't cry. She wouldn't give them the satisfaction, but would she go? As Chidinma stared at the closed door, a knock sounded. Her heart leaped into her throat. Could it be Dubem, back early? But no. The figure that stood on the doorstep was unexpected, a tall woman with a kind smile and knowing eyes. "Chidinma," the woman asked, "are you all right?" Chidinma couldn't answer. Relief and confusion welled within her. Who was the woman, and how did she know her name? The woman, her name Auntie Ada, explained she was Dubem's aunt, visiting Asaba for a business meeting. Dubem, worried about Chidinma being alone with Obioma and Adako, had called her, hoping she could check in. Tears welled up in Chidinma's eyes. For the first time since the necklace incident, someone finally cared. Hesitantly, Chidinma poured out her heart, the taunts, the impossible chores, and finally the eviction. Auntie Ada listened patiently, her face hardening with anger. When Chidinma finished, her voice thick with emotion. Auntie Ada took her hand. "You are strong, Chidinma," she said, her voice firm. "Dubem wouldn't have wanted this." Chidinma wasn't so sure. Dubem's silence spoke volumes. Still, Auntie Ada's presence was a lifeline. Together they hatched a plan. Auntie Ada wouldn't let Chidinma stay in that hostile environment another night. They had packed her things discreetly and find a safe haven until Dubem returned. While Adako was gossiping with the neighbors and Obioma was busy preparing a lavish dinner for a visiting relative, a ploy to distract Auntie Ada. Chidinma and Auntie Ada quickly packed a small bag with essentials. The silence in the house was thick with tension. Just as they were about to leave, Obioma returned, her eyes narrowing at the sight of the packed bag. "Where do you think you are going?" she demanded. Auntie Ada stepped forward, her gaze unwavering. "Chidinma is coming with me," she announced. "She's not well and she needs someone to look after her." Obioma sputtered with indignation, but Auntie Ada held her ground. "I will speak to Dubem about this," she added pointedly. The mention of Dubem silenced Obioma for a moment. She knew challenging Dubem's aunt, especially one with a reputation for fierce loyalty, wouldn't be wise. With a final glare at Chidinma, Obioma grudgingly allowed them to leave, stepping out into the cool night air. Chidinma felt a wave of relief wash over her. It wasn't a solution, but it was a reprieve. Auntie Ada took her to a quiet guest house, a haven of peace compared to the tumultuous environment she had left behind. As Chidinma settled in, Auntie Ada promised to make some calls. The truth, she said, needed to come out. Days turned into weeks. Auntie Ada contacted Dubem, relaying Chidinma's story. Dubem, to Chidinma's surprise, expressed a shock and disbelief. He claimed to have no idea about the mistreatment and promised to return to Asaba immediately. Would his voice translate into action? Chidinma didn't know. But one thing was certain, she wouldn't be returning to the house as a meek, downtrodden wife. The experience had awakened a strength within her. She would wait for Dubem but wouldn't be a doormat anymore. The following day, a knock on the door shattered the quiet. Chidinma's heart hammered in her chest. Who could it be? To her surprise, it was Obiageli, her face etched with worry. "Chidinma," Obiageli stammered, "I overheard Mama and Adaku talking. They lied about the necklace." Chidinma's brows furrowed. Relief and confusion battled within her. Obiageli, always a silent observer, had finally found her voice. "What did this mean?" "They planned it," Obiageli continued, tears welling up in her eyes. "They wanted to get rid of you." Chidinma felt a surge of anger, but a part of her understood. Obioma was a child caught in the crossfire between a cruel mother and a spineless sister. "Thank you, Obiageli," Chidinma said gently, pulling her into a hug. "You are very brave." Obiageli clung to her, the weight of the secret finally lifted. This small act of defiance, this moment of connection, offered Chidinma a flicker of hope. Perhaps even in the hostile environment there was room for kindness, for a bond that transcended manipulation and lies. With Dubem's arrival looming and new information at hand, Chidinma knew her life in Asaba was about to take another turn. Would it be a reunion or a final goodbye? The answer, like the humid Asaba air, hung heavy with suspense. The knock on the door sent a jolt through Chidinma. It was Dubem, a week earlier than expected. His face was etched with worry, but there was a flicker of defiance in his eyes. "Chidinma," he said, his voice grooved. "Can we talk?" Chidinma hesitated, then stepped aside, allowing him in. Auntie Ada, who had been a constant source of support, excused herself, leaving them alone. Dubem looked around the sparsely furnished room, his gaze finally landing on Chidinma. "Auntie Ada had told me everything," he began, his voice tight. "I am so sorry." Chidinma watched him, searching for sincerity. "Sorry for what?" she asked, her voice surprisingly calm. Dubem flinched. "For not being there for you, for not seeing what was happening right under my nose." He ran hand through his hair, his frustration evident. "Did you ever suspect anything?" Chidinma pressed. Dubem avoided her gaze. "There were moments, but I never imagined it was this bad." The truth hung heavy in the air. Dubem's naivety was infuriating, but a part of her understood. He'd grown up under Obioma's iron fist, conditioned to follow others without question. "What now?" Chidinma asked, her voice breaking the silence. Dubem took a deep breath. "I confronted them. My mother, she denied everything, but Adaku," he hesitated. "Adaku confessed. She told me about the necklace and how they plan to get rid of you." Relief washed over Chidinma, tinged with a bitter aftertaste. Vindication, but at a cost. So what are you going to do? She asked, her gaze unwavering. The way met her eyes, his jaw set. I am going to take you home, not to that house, but to a place where you'll be safe and respected. Hope bloomed in Chidinma's chest, but a question lingered. What about Obiageli? Will she be okay? Dubem smiled faintly. I spoke to Auntie Ada. She's going to talk to my father. Maybe things can change for Obiageli too. The next few days were a whirlwind. Dubem secured a small apartment, a fresh start for them. Facing Obioma and Adako was a tense affair. Obioma, cornered and exposed, resorted to emotional manipulation, but Dubem remained resolute. Adako, her once smug facade crumbled, offered a tearful apology. The move to their new home was bittersweet as they drove away. Chidinma stole a glance back at the house that had held so much pain, but a new feeling bloomed within her, a sense of strength and independence. This wasn't just Dubem's decision, it was theirs. Life in their new home wasn't perfect. Dubem, used to a certain dynamic, struggled to adjust to a more equal partnership. Chidinma too had to unlearn the habit of a submissive wife, but they learned together, communication becoming their new language. One evening, a knock on the door startled them. It was Obiageli, her eyes filled with a mixture of fear and hope. She hesitantly explained how Obioma's grip on the household had loosened. Her father, influenced by Auntie Ada, had finally intervened. Chidinma welcomed Obiageli into her home, a haven they were now both building. The future stretched before them, uncertain yet hopeful. They had faced hardship, but they had emerged stronger, their bond forged in the fires of adversity. As they sat together, a new chapter in their lives began, a testament to the resilience of the human spirit and the power of choosing your own path. So guys, this is the end of the story. Please leave your thoughts at the comment section. Like, share this video and equally subscribe. See you guys in my next video. Bye.